Okay, we should be good to go. Sorry about that, Mark. Okay, we're good now.
Okay, I'll start again. On December 19th, the village received the good news from the Office of Community Renewal that it had received a $2 million grant from the Community Development Block Grant Program that would supplement the EFC grant and loan that had been obtained previously by Delaware Engineering as part of a $6 million plus project for the wastewater treatment plant. The idea of the application back in July was to reduce the amount of loan as part of the project as much as possible. The resulting funding package is now $2 million grant from OCR, Small City CDBG, $2 million grant from EFC, and $2 million loan from EFC. So the next step is that we're waiting on the grant agreement to arrive from the state. They're working out some issues with U.S. Department of HUD. I would say within the next month, we're going to get a grant agreement for $2 million. At that point, pass copies on to Bill and myself. We'll be working on the project at that point. And I think I had sent up for consideration tonight some resolutions which are typical for projects like this, designating a labor standards officer, designating a Section 3 compliance officer, adopting a ADA grievance procedure. Those are the three resolutions I sent to Michelle and to Jessica. And essentially, I wanted to make the point that we should pass those resolutions if we could, that we should be looking out for the grant agreement. And Bill is going to be talking about a possible future project for this July. It's not too early to consider a new application. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Hey, Mark, just to confirm, I believe we were going to have those resolutions on our next meeting, our first meeting in February.
Oh, that's fine.
Is that okay? Okay.
There's no rush for today.
Okay. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome there.
Bill.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Mark. Good evening. Yeah, just to follow up on what Mark said, there are a number of administrative items on the CDBG grant to advance that, and then throughout the duration of the grant and the overall project, there's a number of administrative items and monitoring items that the village is required to comply with over duration, and that's something between Mark's office and our office in conjunction with the village. We'd look to coordinate collectively to make sure we're complying with the various rules and regulations of both funding agencies, both financing programs. On the EFC side, we have some items required by them in order to close on their financing as well, and we'll be coordinating that with the village over the coming months to lock in that financing package and provide access to the dollars to ultimately start design, work through permitting, and get to construction so that we can make the improvements needed at the facility. As Mark mentioned, on the CDBG side, Community Development Block Grant, that's been a long-standing program. The village has, I believe, had success in that in previous years, and then obviously most recently this past December. So it is a program that the village has access to, and is one of the very, very few that has a low to no local match formal requirement. Most of the programs, EFC included, have 20, 30, 50% local match, which is small, is tough for a small community. So, we wanted to highlight to the village that yes, we're starting on the wastewater plant project, but if the village wants to consider future grant applications to the CDBG program, which we anticipate being funded in the coming year, we would probably want to start on that process relatively soon to identify a project that we think would score well, and to do the necessary administrative items needed in order to have a strong application, because we know it is a very competitive program. So, you know, this past year, we had prepared an engineering report, on the water side, kind of to supplement what has been done on the wastewater side. We know there are a number of needs on the waterworks side, the village's infrastructure, so that could be a potential, you know, there's potential projects there that we could look to seek funding for, you know, if the village has interest in that route. So don't need an answer on it tonight, but just wanted to kind of throw that out there to be thinking about over the coming months, so that if we do want to apply, it's probably a late July application. Due date, but it's you know, a 3 to 4 month process to get everything that's needed in order to have a strong competitive application.
Thanks, Bill. We'll definitely be in touch soon. I know we have a meeting scheduled later this week, and I think that's a good opportunity to start talking about that summer application.
Sure.
Okay. Mark, Bill, thank you both for attending tonight and keeping the board and I up to date.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, Matt.
Questions for Mark? Thank you both again.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Okay, next on our petitioner correspondence, we do have a resignation of Paul Ross from the Historic Preservation Commission. We're gonna look into the appointment of another individual. We just need to check on the process for that specific commission. So with that, if I do we have to accept the resignation?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, we accept it.
Was there a motion on?
Yeah.
Please.
Towards the end.
Thank you. Yep, I see. Okay, if I can have a motion to accept the resignation of Paul Ross from the Joint Historic Preservation Commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, is there anyone else here who is not on the agenda to speak to the board tonight on any matter? John?
Thank you. Here on behalf of the 4th of July Committee, we are planning for 250th anniversary this year. And we would like permission from the village to hang from the rooftop down about 2.5 stories an American flag. We have to measure the building. According to Google Maps, it's 52 feet. If that is the case, then we're looking at buying a 30-foot by 50-foot flag and draping it down the side. We would do it for probably like 2 or 3 weeks prior to the 4th, and maybe a week or so after the 4th. And potentially this would be an annual. So I'd like to give you permission for it.
And if everybody's in agreement on discussing this and considering it? Okay, so what?
This building. Yep, sorry.
So John, if it's okay, what I'd like to do then, it seems like there's no outright objection to it. If we can sit down with the village manager and talk about the logistics, then we'll have you come back and maybe do a formal approval. That's all right? Okay, thank you. Okay, is there anyone else here from the public to speak to the board tonight on any matter? Okay. So we'll jump into discussion, warming center at the Hunt Shelter. Early last week, I was able to go and visit the Second Iglesia folks up in Kingston. We were able to talk through some of the remaining items that were creating barriers to entry for opening the warming center. It's a good conversation. It was a great chance to see their operation up there. They have a process, they have a program, they do it very well. And it was really neat to see how they handle it, and gave me a lot of confidence that they're the right fit for it. And so with that, we were able to get everything situated. We had a special meeting last Thursday to execute the lease agreement with them, and they were able to open up over the weekend in just a minute of time. The village manager has been in communication with Jeannie Edwards, who is the principal at that location. As the days have gone on, just checking in, dynamically seeing where the need is, and offering our assistance in any way we can. And then the county has also been in communication too. Right now, as probably some of you saw on Facebook, it is open 24/7 for the foreseeable future. And like I said, Nick will be in communication with the county and Second Iglesias Church over that, and if anything adjusts. Nick, any comments on, I know you have a previous relationship with Jeannie Edwards, just to speak to them maybe?
Yeah, Jeannie, a former older person in the city of Kingston, former actually code enforcement officer in the city of Kingston as well. Known her for a number of years. They also run the warming center there. I'm glad that she's here, glad that they're here doing this work. We did work with Commissioner Iapoce and County Executive Metzger to extend the hours because there certainly was a need for it. So far, so good. It's serving the community well and will continue to do so as long as the county will assist us in providing the funding to do so. It's great.
There's, one of the items when visiting them on this past Saturday is that there's actually an individual in Ellenville who is with them, who's assisting them. He's got a great story, and it's a real important part of this is that homelessness affects people in different ways. There's different causes to homelessness. And again, emphasizing that they are the right people to deal with those different circumstances. But in this case, with this individual who lives in Ellenville, he was in a really challenging situation. As he fully admitted, he had some of his own personal issues that he needed to work through. And he provided a framework and a structure for him to do that. And now he is paying it forward by assisting them and helping out. So it's really, it takes people to do it, and they're really stepping up to the plate to do it. And we're glad to have it. Sure.
There was discussion about the potential mental health concerns, resource gathering, because there have been an ongoing conversation about having those expected here and connecting them to care as needed.
Yeah, they're at, Jeannie is connected through DSS and the social service partners as well as mobile mental health unit. We had a situation with a community member who didn't have the right fit for the warming center. Jeannie was able to connect them with the social service partners, DSS. And will refer folks to the right agency, or if someone needs more of a medical type treatment, they will refer them out. And I believe, did you have a chance to connect with her? I did.
So, yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, great. Awesome. So I know that, they do want to talk about that, and they do want to help these folks, not just push them back out into the street. They certainly want to get them assistance and get them into the right place, because it's not just to house them and then when the time comes to let them go, just let them back out there. So they did talk about, getting them some medical care and, connecting them with the Institute and other agencies.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Anybody else in other comments?
I had the opportunity to be there, helping a family, over the snowstorm, and I have to say it was very welcoming and comforting to go in there and for the family to not feel judged, for the circumstances. They were able to offer resources right away. I have to say, I want to give a big shout out to our village manager and our mayor for answering the phone calls, answering the questions, and providing any type of resources and information that they had. It was really nice to feel like, you have a team that is willing, even out the clock, out the clock time, just to be able and willing to help. So I just want to encourage our community members that if you need help or you need assistance or you just need some type of guidance, do not feel ashamed, do not hesitate to reach out. This is why we are here for. What it was in for, to be that voice when we need it. Thank you.
Item number 2 on our discussion is snow tubing at Settler Memorial Park. So trustees, as I think some of you or all of you are aware, there was snow tubing for a couple of years at Steckler Memorial Park, pre-COVID and a year or two after COVID. Last couple of years have been a little lacking in the snow department, and we have been dealing with a lot of other municipal issues. Obviously, we've got snow now, and quite a bit of it, and it has been fairly and consistently cold this year. So, myself, the village manager, and Trustee Luis Rivera, wearing a different hat, had a conversation with the town supervisor about operating snow tubing again at Steckler Memorial Park. We had reached out to our insurance company just to do a feeler and, let them know, we were looking to do what we had done in the past, which included a snowmobile, moving the tubes, carrying people back up the hill, and people going down it. They gave us a lengthy list of answers to that question, very, very lengthy list. And it posed some questions about how to do this, and that especially right now, we may not be set up to do it ourselves. And so the question became, could the town help us with that? They have a recreation department, they have the ability and the experience bringing on staff that might meet some of the requirements. And we would allow them to utilize the park space pro bono via facility use form and try to make something happen. And so I had a quick follow-up meeting. The town council today had a small workshop meeting, so I just sat in on that. They've already been digging into insurance on their end. And so it seems like they're gonna be able to do that. And so we'll just wait to hear from them. Nick, we'll loop back in with them, I think, maybe tomorrow and see how they're making out. And we'll see what we can all do together to make this work. It is a nice event. So with that, any point of conversation in this discussion?
Will there be a cost associated? Great.
Any other thoughts or comments on this? Okay, before we consider, okay. So we do in front of us have a use form to be approved by us from the town of Warsing.
Number 10.
Yep. So I'll ask for a motion authorizing the town of Warsing Recreation Department to use Steckler Memorial Park on Saturdays and Sundays from 9 AM to 4 PM for the winter months, contingent on a valid certificate of insurance. And I'll add with a review by the village manager. Yep. Well, let's motion second, and we'll go to discussion, if that's okay.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, and then discussion.
And the final, paperwork, can we clarify winter month? So, use from Bill.
That is fair. We could clarify until the end of March 31st.
March 31st is the very earliest class. We will
Okay.
address that language then.
Let's just add it in right now. So if I can have a motion. So we have a motion modified that resolution to read winter months ending March 31st. So I have a second, right? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, managers report, Nick. I know obviously we're still jumping in, but anything right now?
Well, you touched on the warming center, that was on the manager's report, let's see. I think the only other important item, just I'll note, that I have going on, other than still getting up to speed and interacting with our department heads, and we're gonna have some individual one-on-one meetings now that I am no longer doing my other role in the village of Fishkill, officially ended that. I am going to be attending the winter legislative meeting of NICOM next week in Albany. Just to catch up with the folks up there and other village and city officials. In addition, I have been invited to a reception with Governor Hochul. Second, at that time, I will be expressing the needs of the village that we've discussed and be asking, obviously, for things such as water and sewer infrastructure, funding for a youth center, and any items that the trustees would like me to bring to her attention. So please, if there are things you'd like me to mention that we haven't already discussed, please do that, and I will reiterate those to her vigorously in the short time that I will be with her. I will also be seeing our state controller, Tom DiNapoli, while I'm up there, and will reiterate certain things to him as well. You know, getting the ground under my feet here in the village and getting to work with our staff and our partners in the community is just business as usual right now. So as we develop and grow here, I'm really enjoying the role and getting to know everything.
Thanks, Nick.
Personally.
We had Clinton Avenue Bridge Watch. It remained as it was. We will be waiting to hear a response or not. Termination letter sent out regarding the right of way acquisitions. And then once we have some clarity on that, then they'll kind of determine how we move forward. Mike, I know you're both here tonight. I don't know if you want to come up and speak to the board. I want to thank you, Mike, specifically for the snow removal efforts that went on over the last 48 hours.
Excellent job.
Yeah, I mean, like, 24 hours of just absolute snow, and then you wake up the next morning and magically the streets are clear. And it's not magic. You guys are out there doing it. How did everything go with on-street parking? Was there a difference or still compliance issues?
Like naturally, you can't get everybody to comply. A little bit better with the garbage cans as well. But naturally it's still out there. But it was a rough storm. I know everybody knows. It continues. What the future brings this weekend might continue on ways. Yeah, and I gotta commend my guys. They pushed through. It's a long, long night. And a lot of snow to get back. I will advise you guys of this, that actually the business district in the condition it is, we can pick up. So I'll be speaking to the manager roughly after this meeting to give them a heads up on everything that went on during the storm. And also that we have people out here, we have business people that are willing to assist with trucks and equipment to help us move the snow out there. I also reached out to the county and the state for assistance to help us. Just to keep costs down in the village.
Mike,
And this is all for the snow.
has the county and the DOT in the past assisted when we've had some pretty significant snowfalls like this with snow removal?
Mainly the state.
Okay.
It is a state road that we usually do, so they always go out. The county, my time, maybe one time, I did reach out to them, but they have their own snow removal as well. So, like I said, we have outside contractors that offer their services if we needed it. So I'll be speaking to yourself and the manager about retaining that.
That's good. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, appreciate all the efforts. Mike Ryman.
Yes.
We do have. Let's see, how many items do we have? One minute.
All right. We have one item
the battery charger for the samplers.
Yep. If I would have a motion authorizing payment to CPE portable sampler for a CPE portable sampler charger in the amount of $1,699 on the recommendation of the wastewater treatment plant foreman.
Second.
All in favor?
The one, as you know, we plowed the streets. We were helping Mike.
Yeah.
The one issues that we had with trucks having no heat.
Okay.
So one truck that we have at the plant had no heat. So I was plowing with both windows open, so the snow was going through, so the windows wouldn't steam up. I think that'd be an emergency that you might want to get the heat fixed. They're trying.
Yep.
You know, Rob's been trying different things. He's got one more thing tomorrow he's gonna try.
Yep.
If that doesn't work, it's gonna have to change the whole dynamics of the heating core and everything
I was
else.
gonna say, is it the heater core maybe?
So he says, he thinks it's the whole HVAC thing.
And this is on the
The Dodge,
of the Dodge.
Dodge, we got the engine replaced.
Okay, yeah, keep us posted, keep the village manager posted on that.
Okay, and then one thing I want to keep you informed of, back in 2019, there was a company that I reached out to. They wanted to take grease from our sewer plant and turn it into biodiesel.
Okay.
Well, nothing happened with it until got a call January 5th, where they got grant from Massachusetts to do it. They're at a plant, they have a portable system, and I guess NYSERDA and Stony Brook University want them to come in New York. So they reached out, want to take our grease. I told them that under the circumstances, we don't have enough to supply them. So I forwarded that person to the county exec. Haven't heard from her back what happened with that. But if they do go through it, they would provide the pails and shipping for us to ship down to wherever the plant is. So we're skipping the grease off the tanks, might as well get rid of it a different way.
Yeah, Nick, you want to touch base with Mike and flush that out a little bit and see what it entails?
2 letters. Good, so other than that, and I know we had new faces. If you have questions, please ask. I'm here. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Which reminds me. Had certain openings on the liaison positions for the mayoral appointments for those departments. I don't have the full list in front of me. I know you had expressed interest in the letter of interest. Building department have an opening on that. If it's okay with you, I'll do that at this meeting right now, and I'll get the full list of potential other openings, and we'll have you serve as the other liaison. That's okay.
Great.
Okay, Michelle, if that's all right.
Yeah.
I will
Okay.
appoint her to serve as the liaison. So with that, we'll start working through our resolutions for tonight. So Ellenville Housing Authority has been trying to move through a Section 8 conversion.
You wanna,
I didn't
report on doing that?
Oh, I apologize, Dan, I didn't see anything on the agenda.
You know, the only two things that I
Okay.
have, one is very time sensitive,
Sure.
and that has to do with the, what I recommend is hiring 3 local contractors to take care of the grass violations. The reason that I say it's time sensitive is we only got about 2 or 3 months before letters go out, and I wanna have a program that I'm sure Nick would be able to help me put together using 3 of the contractors. As Mike Jetter said, the street department really does not have the time or the ability to take care of the amount of violations that we have. So I'd like some resolution on hiring or finding these 3 local contractors.
So what I'll ask is, Nick, if you can put together an RFP and have it before the board, potentially for the next meeting, and then we'll authorize the issuing of that RFP. We'll do.
Okay, the other thing is, The B3 zoning district allows hotels and motels, does not allow resorts. Our use schedule doesn't allow resorts in any of the zoning districts, and realistically, it doesn't make much sense. The resorts definition says it has a pool and a tennis court, or in some cases, a pickleball court. To allow it, to make it allowable to go to the planning board for approval in the B3 zoning district is just a question of you guys agreeing on it.
So I think the challenge is right now, right, nothing's been brought before the board as proposed project formally. I would say we do have a resolution on tonight's agenda to accept a proposal for a new village planner. I think as a part of that conversation and bringing them on, there's been a number of points of conversation related to our zoning. And I think that's gonna be a great question for them to advise the board on, how to approach certain areas of interest. So can wait just a little bit, Dan. I'd like to get that planner on board and then have them shoot through.
All right, when you get the planner approved, I'd like to have a meeting with them so we can go over certain things. Because there's a lot of things that have to be addressed.
Absolutely, Dan. I mean, arguably, we probably need to have a new comprehensive plan done. We did submit a grant application back in the middle of December to HCR for as a part of our pro housing certification that opened the doors to funding to help us with planning. We submitted a $200,000 grant application. So hopefully, if we were to be awarded that in the addition of our new planner, you know, that was one of the focuses on bringing this firm on, as they have a lot of urban planning experience, and that they can help us tackle certainly a lot of our outdated zones regulations. Okay. Okay, so we'll start working. Dan, anything else though, just before?
No, those are the two primary things.
Okay, thank you. So we'll start off, I have a motion authorizing the mayor to sign the request for release of funds from section, from 64 section, am I reading this right, Michelle?
Yeah, that's the way.
Okay, from 64 section 8 housing, from 64 section 8 housing choice vouchers for 99 Canal Street and 10 Eastwood, which are the public housing buildings that Ellenville Housing Authority authorized. This has obviously been a very prolonged process. We've been talking about this as soon as I became mayor. They were here, so hopefully they get over the line. Our village manager has a lot of experience with public housing, so he's been a great sounding board to inform me about public housing and processes. So if I can have a motion for that. A second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, sorry. If I can have a motion, authorizing Ellenville Repair Cafe to use the village of Ellenville meeting room on the first floor on Saturday, March 7th, 2026, and June 6th of 2026 from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And a certificate of insurance will be provided.
Second.
Open for discussion. Nick, if you can, could you, well, Michelle, do you have the contact?
Yeah.
Could you follow up with them, and we can follow up with them too, just about what services they were providing that day?
Sure.
Just the nature of them, so that we can make sure we're situated for it. They have hosted a number of repair cafes over at the Norbury. They've had a really great success, I think, of getting people to turn out for it and get free services. It's volunteers doing it. It's a volunteer effort to put it together. And they're, I think, probably looking for a warm location in March and then just a better location in
Sure.
Question?
Yep.
I see one more for November.
So.
Thanks.
If we'll hold this one. Let's hold it and we'll go from there. We'll just ask them to potentially resubmit for the other ones. Yeah.
Okay.
We can also see how it goes too.
Alright.
Okay, so with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Shall get that about having to resubmit the other one.
You heard that?
There was in the agenda packet.
Yeah, so they wanted 2 more times, but I forgot to pull it because their insurance is only good to a certain point. So once they renew their insurance, then they're gonna resubmit the. My apologies.
Alright, thank
So
you.
when Michelle, just to confirm, did they submit insurance?
It's a process for them, I guess.
Okay,
I'm
so we'll,
patiently waiting.
absolutely, okay. Michelle, if you can just let Nick know that that has been received in the end.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. If I can have a motion authorizing payment to RBT in the amount of $10,493.16 for the December 2025 consulting services. Longer period of time for the 2023 AFR upon the recommendation of the village treasurer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We've already done number 4. We had a recommendation from the planning board to amend the definition of authorized agent. Currently, that a 5-mile radius around their location in the village for short-term rental. They recommended it to be changed to 25 miles. If I can have that motion to do so. Motion discussion. So let's motion. Second. And discussion. Okay. What are some of the concerns or thoughts?
So it was 5 and now it's maybe for 25.
Correct.
So why was it established at 5 to begin with?
I answer to the law that was established. My guess would be is to create a highly restrictive mechanism to have someone very close in proximity to be available. Dan, you can jump in to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the planning board's position based on how the application process has worked is that that's almost an impossible condition to meet.
Yeah, considering that most of the short-term rental managers, I think we only have one that is within that 5-mile radius out of all the managers that are out there. As you know, I was trying to, right now the zoning allows for apartment managers to be 50 miles away, and I was trying to bring that to 25 miles. Several of the apartments or the short-term rentals that have applied to the planning board, Fallsburg is a big part of their management locations. Carhungson is another one, both of which are outside the 5-mile radius. Personally, I'm the one who gets called to go to these emergencies, and I'm 13 miles away. So to me, a 25-mile radius, as the planning board decided, would be a proper radius for any type of emergencies. That would give them 30 minutes to be here.
If I'm recalling correctly too, one of the points the planning board brought up in that discussion was that, you know, obviously, I think when that law was put into place, it was designed to be restrictive. Some of the clauses are almost draconian. I'm personally not wholly against that, you know, in support of housing. But at the same time too, short-term rentals in their initial guise were sold as you own a house, you live here, you want to go away for the weekend, you're going to be staying somewhere, but you have your own home that maybe you want to rent out for a couple of days, and you'll make a little bit of money while you're away, and so your vacation doesn't cost as much. The trouble would be, I think, with this 5-mile radius is that, in effect, you would have to have someone living in the village manages it for you, right, and oversees it while you're away. And it's unlikely that that would be possible. Maybe work if it was an investor grade short-term rental and you were a resident in the village and you're overseeing your own property. But this is one of those certain circumstances where I actually think it hurts the actual resident of the village of Ellenville who's trying to use their property as a normal short-term rental in a reasonable way. Because now they have a very limited pool of people who could actually be available while they're on vacation. You know, those are my thoughts on it. I'm definitely interested in hearing yours too. But
What's currently happening to those that don't have 5 mile,
I'm
those that
sorry?
don't have, like someone within 5 miles, have they gotten fined for that?
Nobody has gotten fined with one exception. 36 Westwood has been fined because they're renting without a license. Right now, we're trying to catch up to the short-term zoning law and get the short-term rentals in place with the zoning law. So I'm bringing everybody in September 24th, everybody got a letter and an application and the fee schedule of what they had to do. Nobody returned it. Okay, now we're in January. The licenses have to be issued for January because they're 12-month license. Right now, we have one that's been approved by the planning board. That's 6 Westwood. 8 Westwood has their manager in Fallsburg, which posed the problem, and we had to table that approval. Everything else was in line to give them approval, except their management. There's 2, 3, there's about 6 other properties that have not yet applied to the planning board. And that is gonna become a problem, because if I see any cars or anybody parked there, I have to knock on the door and find out if it's the owner or a guest. If it's a guest, that property owner is gonna be fined $1,000 as per our zoning law. That's happened once at 36 Westwood. Unfortunately, on Friday, they had cars parked there again. So, and I'm meeting with the owner tomorrow. The restriction of 5 miles eliminates any property managers from as far away as Accord, Cragsmore. To the mayor's point of view, short-term rentals are not just, I'm going away for the weekend, I'd like to rent my place. It's an investment property now. And people are doing that as investments, and the proper way, in my opinion, is to restrict the amount of short-term rentals, because they're very beneficial to the village as far as tourism goes. They're just not beneficial as far as housing goes. So to make a happy medium there, I'd like the board to look into restricting the amount of short-term rentals in certain areas.
I definitely, again, I think that's somewhere, you know, certainly in the conversation.
Goes with the planner.
Yeah, and yeah, I would say that's a conversation that will definitely be on the planner's agenda of looking at our short-term rental law and seeing how we can tweak it, update it, modify it. Because that, again, we need a recommendation. That's just far outside of our purview and our knowledge base. So to kind of focus back in on the resolution specifically though, so we have this request from the planning board upon their recommendation to increase the radius from 5 miles to 25 miles. So I have a motion and a second.
Mayor, if I could be heard on this.
Sure, Ian, yes, thank you.
I just want to clarify. So this has to be done via amendment to local law, which requires a public hearing.
Okay.
So the resolution should read, motion to schedule a public hearing for the adoption of this amendment to the short-term rental law, just as a point of order for that.
Thank you.
And then secondly, in regards to what Dan is saying, I think that based on what I was understanding from the planning board at the last meeting, the 5 mile radius is creating basically a monopoly on who can operate as a property manager. And to promote competition, the 25 mile radius does do that, which actually serves the village better. Because if you have competition among property managers, then you're going to get a better quality property manager, because people are going to put their money into the best value and the people who are responsive to their needs. The other aspect that the planning board was looking into that may want to be considered in this narrow scope of the short-term rental law change is right now, the short-term rental law has no power for the code enforcement officer to suspend a short-term lodging permit or license in the event of non-compliance. The planning board, just in the first license that was issued for 6 Westwood, set conditions which essentially gave the code enforcement officer the ability to suspend the license after 3 violations. I can draft in the proposed local law, in addition to the 25-mile radius language that could be adopted to the effect that gives the code enforcement officer the ability to suspend a license. I obviously think this is highly critical because if there's non-compliance going on with the license, the code enforcement officer should have the power to suspend the permit pending the property owner coming into compliance with the law. Right now, the way it works is that the planning board has to essentially add this as a condition to every rental license if they want the code enforcement officer to have the ability to suspend the license during the term. If by making the change in the local law, then you kind of avoid this and the planning board doesn't have to add this to every single application going forward.
So Ian, thank you. So that changes the nature of this. Ian, I guess the question for you is, should we even be considering this resolution then as it is? Should we be then instructing you rather to put together a local law for us to see and consider and then hold a motion to hold a public or resolve to hold a public hearing for it at our next meeting? Are we kind of jumping the gun a little bit with a resolution modifying to hold a public hearing?
I don't think so. I think that the resolution is essentially the same thing that you're doing. Instead of adopting the change right now, though, you're making a motion to schedule the public hearing regarding the same subject matter. Ultimately, once you have the public hearing, you have a matter of time by law anyway to adjust the language of the local law based on your comments after reviewing it at the public hearing. That's the purpose of the public hearing too. So if the public makes any comments regarding the local law and you find them worthy, you can adjust the local law accordingly. So as long as I get you a draft of the local law prior to the public hearing, I think it's more than proper for you to pass a resolution scheduling the public hearing for the proposed changes to the short-term rental law. Now, if you want to only make the focus of it in regards to the 25-mile radius, that's fine. But if you want it to be more comprehensive, that's also fine. It just depends on what the board wants at this point.
So Ian, just because we don't have the verbiage in front of us, that's my only hesitation is what we have on the agenda, we're already modifying, and I'm not sure that I want to expand the scope for what's here,
Yeah, so Mayor, if you want to just keep it to the 25-mile radius, then just adopt a resolution scheduling a public hearing to do so. That's fine.
Ian, and do you have the local law number that our short-term rentals are covered on a specific section, just so I can include that in the resolution?
Sure, whenever you're ready.
Okay.
227-25.6.
As a point of order, Ian, because we had motioned and seconded a resolution using certain language, do we need to rescind this motion?
Yes. So the proper procedure would either to be amend the motion or rescind the motion altogether. So however you want to frame it.
Okay, so then we'll amend the motion. So if I could have amendment to the motion to read to schedule, if I can have a motion, Ian, do I need to amend it or do I need to fully re-motion again to?
You can just make it. You can just make it simple and just have a motion to rescind the pending motion and then make a new motion if you want to do it that way.
Okay, so can I have a motion to rescind resolution number 5 on tonight's agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. If I can have a motion to hold a public hearing to modify local law 227-25.6 to allow for the expansion of an authorized agent from a 5-mile radius to 25-mile radius for a short-term lodging operator upon the recommendation of the planning board.
That could be February 9th. Ian, is February 9th okay?
Does that give us enough time?
Yeah, I think so. What I guess that's a question for Chris as to when they're publishing on Thursday, right?
So you can get it to me tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm working on it right now.
Um. Can you-
Yeah, but it has to be published. Certain number of days.
How often do you have to get it in different week?
When do I have to get it in by? The paper, when do it have to be published? This week?
I think it's 7 days prior.
Okay, so we do.
Okay, so just to confirm, that will give us enough time for publishing to February 9th. Okay. All right, so with that, to hold a public hearing on February 9th at 6:15 PM. Now that motion, we had a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Ian.
You're welcome.
With that, resolution number 7, we're not going to consider resolution number 6. The village manager and the village attorney are gonna review the feedback we received from our 4th floor tenants and reconsider. So with resolution number 7, if I can have a motion authorizing the village of Ellenville to enter into agreement with alumni planning services for planning and for our planning and zoning boards.
Second.
Discussion. I'll just bring up quickly that our planning chair and one of our planning board members, Paul Zito, sat in. Yes, I sat in with them. This is something that had been going on in December. We tried to replace our longtime planner. They asked a number of pointed questions about some of our upcoming challenges, what services they can provide in relationship to that. And they felt that they had a good meeting with APS. So with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have a motion authorizing the Borscht Belt Museum to hold their annual festival on July 25th and July 26th. Based on the use form that they submitted. It's for the Borscht Belt Fest. It's for the last number of years. Michelle, this is another one that we really need to focus in on when that COI comes in. Okay. So if I can have that motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Thursday.
Okay. Understood. Just for clarity, trustee Mesner is going to abstain because they have used her for services in the past.
Okay.
Use form?
No, it was just an email with Elliot and I, and he's supposed to provide me.
Okay, so
Thank you.
let's just make sure though that they fill out a use form, just to keep procedure in line.
Here's a little on the COI there, is that okay?
Yep.
It tends to drag out closer to the date because they're determining the exact locations, the attendees, where they're gonna hold all the separate pieces of the festival. So it ends up unfortunately going closer to the date, but it will definitely be provided.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're working on
Appreciate
it.
that clarity.
Thank
Okay,
you.
great. And that was the main thing. We just wanted to make sure everything this year is copacetic, and that goes for really any of our street fairs and any of our use of is good. Refresher, as you have pointed out in the past, we need to be on top of our insurance.
Yeah, I noticed the shift in that and I applaud it.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. A motion authorizing the purchase of street signs, post and brackets from Econo Signs in the amount of $9,185.82 to be reimbursed by CHIPS upon the recommendation of the street department foreman.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. If I could have a motion authorize, yeah, we did item 12, okay, or item 10 rather. If I can have a, sorry,
Just one second.
Oh, yeah.
before we move on, also with the signage, I reached out to New York Transportation for us to go and visit the chips.
Okay.
To actually walk through and get a little bit more understanding.
okay,
So me and the deputy clerk and my assistants, they welcomed us to come in and sit down so that we kind of get back on touch with everything CHIPS has to offer us,
great,
which is included with New York Pave, EWR and the certificates.
great, thank you, Mike, that's a good update. So resolution number 12, with the trustee joining us on the board, trustee Mesner served on our zoning board of appeals. No mayor or trustee on the board can also serve on our zoning board or planning board. So I asked her to sign, she accepted. So if I can have a motion to accept the resignation of Victoria Mesner, zoning board of appeals effective January 27th, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
With that, if I can have a motion authorizing the village clerk to advertise for the vacancy on the zoning board of appeals with letters of interest due back by February 19th, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, board report, I know it's still early days, guys, I don't know if anything you want to jump into, if not, we'll just do some community items, please feel free if you have anything coming up that you'd like to share. No? Okay. Village manager asked us to step into executive session quickly to discuss personnel item. So if I could have a motion to enter into executive session, not to ignore all related matters. All in favor?
All right.
Thanks, everyone.